Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another AFLW Fantasy Fanatics Sunday night round review after completion of round 2 of the AFLW Fantasy season. We are recording live on Sunday night, the 24th of August, and I'm joined by my co-host and fellow AFLW Fantasy Fanatics, Tom Hales. Tom, mate, how are you?
I'm good. Round 2 under the belt. Kind of a concentrated round over 2 days, but some really big scores, some very disappointing scores that we'll discuss about today. But I think it was a good round all in all.
And joining us is a very special guest, a friend of the show and part of the HatChat fantasy podcast. It is DC. DC, mate, how are you? Good to have you on for an AFLW pod. How are you?
Yeah, good. Thanks, Bales. Good day, Tom. Thanks for having me on for a bit of AFLW chat. Certainly much more interesting to me at the moment at the start of the season instead of at the end of the men's fantasy season, which is unfortunately petered out pretty badly for the Caterpillars, I must say.
Yeah, exactly. It's been a tough end to the year, and I think as you said, we're all focused on AFLW fantasy now. So looking forward to getting stuck into the majority of this season. But I guess we'll just quickly recap what our trades were from the previous week. So DC, I'll start off with you. What were your trades for round 2?
Yes, I'll just pull those back up. Give me 1 second. So I ended up trading out Rowbottom, which I think of all the more expensive players was probably the one that ended up being the best to trade out. It looks a little way off it at the moment. I know Liam, good friend of all of ours, unfortunately traded out Gardner, which did not go well at all. And I think people that traded out Riddell would have had similar sick feelings in their stomach. But yeah, Rowbottom out for me ended up working pretty well in the end. That was my big trade out, and then ended up obviously having to move on Piper Window, who unfortunately got that injury, and then Stannett, which was a good trade out as well. And then downgraded Rowbottom to Patrikios, which was pretty solid. Nice bit of cash in there too. Went to Imogen Barnett in the forward line, who again I thought was good, and then Zali as my final sort of big upgrade. So overall, pretty happy with the trades. Zali probably a little under, started very slow, but fairly happy with the moves overall.
Yeah, beautiful, mate. No, some good trades there. Tom, what were your moves for the week?
So, I traded out Laura Gardner.
I was wondering what you do.
I did not know that. I'm sorry, Tom. I'm sorry I brought it up.
I traded out Laura Gardner. I traded out Darcy Vessia over Anne Stannett, which also went really, really well. And I also traded out Piper Window. I had that issue to deal with. Brought in Zali Goldsworthy for 77, which is annoying. Brought in Ash Woodland for a 76, which was decent. She was up to 83 and got 7 points taken off her after the final siren, which was a little bit upsetting. And brought in Lucia Painter for some bench cash, although her time might be short-lived in my side. But we'll get to that later on.
Yeah, so a tough week, but I think you still got a decent score, which we'll get to very shortly. My trades, as people know, I had 1,000 options, and I kept overthinking it, and it's not healthy. So I need to make sure I just get a couple of options and not overthink things. But end up going with sort of where my gut was going with, which is what I should have done in the first place. So I went Matilda Schultz down to Havana Harris, which is probably the one that wasn't great. Like I lost, 33 points there. It's not too bad. But on the other end, I went Stannett to Goldsworthy. So that in itself I was pretty happy, even though Goldsworthy an underperforming game. And then Brooke Tonnen went to Hayley McLaughlin. I was so close to bringing in Laura Stone. I wish I did, because she looked really good, and she's going to be someone that we're going to be targeting this week there. But I guess the positive is that I was looking at trading either Gardner or Riddell. And on this pod, you guys would not have heard the end of it if I tried out either of them, because I did it last year with Riddell, and she scored a 150. And if I did it, she would have done even worse in terms of how big she went this week. So thankfully, didn't trade out Ash Riddell. I learnt my lesson from last year. But let's recap our scores for round 2. So DC, will go to you first as our guest. What was your score? Not sure if you can check over rank. You probably can't. But what's your over rank in that now?
Yeah, so scored the 15-11, which sounds reasonably average. But I'm actually extremely happy with my team because I have no Garner, no Riddell, and no Gardner. So to manage that score without those three and actually move up in rank, so I think I've moved up about 200 odd spots into 379th overall, and pretty much bang on 1,000 for the round rank. So pretty happy with that, considering there was those 150s flying around. I couldn't be a part of it.
Beautiful, mate. Yes, no, going along very nicely, even though you missed a couple of those big midfielder scores. Tom, what was your score, round rank, and overall rank? But I keep saying round rank, but you probably can't see it. So just score and overall rank.
Yeah, you can.
Can you?
Yeah. So I had a 1532, so solid week, slightly better than DC. I did have access to the Riddell's 165, which was absolutely elite today. Great bounce back from that 90 last week to show that she's a top 5 mid. Round rank of 636, so nice solid round rank from that really decent score, and I've gone up about 2,500 spots to 1127.
Beautiful, mate.
So heading
nice
right direction.
move. Beautiful. And then my score, I scored a 1563. So really happy with that week. Round rank of 249. So I did find where the round rank is. And overall rank is at 569. So that's up from the 3222 that I was there. So really happy with that, with the movement there. It was sort of round two's normally an important week to try and get as much up the ranks as possible. 2,653 spots up this week, which is really, really handy moving into round 3. Now we'll go to plus and minus threes for the week. And DC, who gets those for you this week?
Yeah, I mean, the minus 3 is actually a bit tricky for me because, as I pointed out, I didn't have those ceiling scores, but I had very few floor scores. So I actually only had 2 scores under 70 on my field. One of which was Watson with a 64, which is still reasonably solid. I mean, if I'm going to be brutally honest, it is probably Zali was probably the player I was most disappointed with on my field. When you're spending that much and she's got the role, you probably want a bit more than a 77 with the soft matchup. But the Giants aren't exactly going that well either. So that might just be something for us to consider going forward, is that she's probably not going to play in many wins this year. So she'll get my minus 3. Plus 3, I think it's going to go to Montana Ham. 133, being probably one of the best value starting picks of the season, particularly as a forward, dominant in that game, hitting all the stat lines. So I think she's been a great starting pick, and would guess most of the teams in top 1,000. So I've probably got her.
Yeah, she made. Just trying to see here. She made an obscene amount of money. Just this was like over 200k. I think it was like 230k. I'm just pulling it up here. So she made 235k just this week alone, which is crazy. She's up to 971k, which is only 56k cheaper than what Zali Goldsworthy is, who we paid up for last week. So she's been an incredible starting pick if you did start with her. Tom, your plus and minus 3?
My minus 3. It's kind of myself. I didn't trade Ange Tanit this week. So I get her 26. 26. What is that? Like, I understand the playing forward. I understand that. I that was in my decision making. I knew they were playing forward, but captain of the club, you're just expecting so much more. 0-point final quarter. Just as soon as lockout opened, they were gone, never to be seen again. Has lost 178k in 2 weeks. Cheers. Plus 3.
You sounded like such a disappointed English football fan, like just the way you were saying it.
Probably didn't help that they got absolutely belted by the Lions as well. So the ball was not in their forward line much.
Yeah, and they run into a really, really, really easy team next week. So I think that needs to be dealt with in North Melbourne. So I'm going to give her plus 3 to actually one of my lowest scorers, but I'm actually really happy with this player. And that's Erica O'Shea with 71 as kind of that cheaper, expensive rookie starting pick at D4, D5 to put up a really solid defensive score of 71. A couple of defensive injuries now for North. That row's only going to improve. Really happy with that. Really happy with the pick. Hopefully that cash gen can continue to be great, and then I can upgrade them in the near future.
Yep, don't mind those, mate. Mine, geez, I don't want to get, because like, as you said, DC, it's a tough week to, because I'll go -3 first, because that's what we've seen to be done with us three. The only players under 50 were rookies in McLaughlin, Havana, Harris, and Wrench. I don't really want to give it to any of them. I'll go. I'll just have to go Zali Goldsworthy as well, because there's not really anyone else that, and it's good when you have that feeling we like. There's no obvious -3 there, so I'll go Zali Goldsworthy as well, and maybe Jess Wrench, because she gave away another 4 free kicks, so that score could have been better. But I'm not really going to give it to Ruby. It's a bit harsh. But +3 goes to the midfield. My midfield this week. So I've started with the 5 big mids, and all turned up this week. So that's a good start to see. That's certainly something I haven't been able to experience in men's fantasy for a long time. Seeing all the players turn up. So, but individually though, Ash Riddell 165. But anytime I ever consider trading her early in a year, from now I'm just never doing it, because she seems to go 150 whenever I'm thinking about it. So she must know and going, okay, Bales is trying to think about trading me out. I'm going to go massive. So, but yeah, she was great. I think she broke the disposal record in a game with 43 this afternoon against Port Adelaide. So she was great. But also, honorable mention, because I was hoping you would go Riddell, Tom, because then I would have given it to Laura Gardner, who also went massive. In very, very low game time in 72%.
I mean, Tom could have given it to Laura. Oh, no. Oh, sorry.
Hi.
Ash Riddell, incredible. And also Laura Gardner, very, very good as well. So let's go and recap sort of how many people from the Open League of the AFLW Fantasy Fanatics are currently inside the top 100, which again, I have not pre-prepared before this pod, so I need to learn to do that in the future. So to be in 100th spot, the score you would need is 2,875 from the 2 rounds. And also shout out to Philip's team, who's in first there. I can't see the team name there, actually. It's all blanked out. But he's 30-48. So very, very good start for Philip's team there. In terms of, the Open AFLW Fantasy Fanatics League. So we have... we got a bump up of coaches now. So we've got 15 coaches inside the top 100 with a couple of coaches only a couple of points out. So a few legends going along very nicely in there. And the Content Creators Cup from the week. So we had some interesting results from round 2. I somehow lost to Jackson by, what's that? 6 points. Yeah, 6 points. And I had Ash Riddell as a unique. So don't know how that works, but I lost by 6 points. 1563 to 1569. JS, who, funny enough, keeps copying Jackson in his trades. 1569 defeated Mel from free kick with a 1522. Jaiden 1439. But we can excuse the slightly lower score this week because he's on his honeymoon enjoying all that. So hope he's going well there. Going down to Jake with a 1522, continuing on his strong form just outside the top 100. Jake is. Then Liam with a 1518 went down to Eloise with a 1547. And then the final 2 matchups were from you boys. So DC, how did you go? Because you were up against Will this week.
Yeah, lost there. He had I think Gardner and maybe Riddell even as well. So, was always going to be a bit tough. But as I said, mainly focus on the overall ranks at this stage of the season, and hopefully the league will sort itself out by the end. Yeah,
exactly. Well, credit to Will as well. He traded out Noffy. And he went to Jazz Garner and put a captain. So
I mean, so far, not starting Noffy is proven to be the best play, particularly if you went, probably Riddell, certainly Garner as an alternative. More points, exactly. Less money.
Yep, exactly. Tom, how did you go? Because you're up against Jono, obviously, who was on with us on Saturday morning.
Unfortunately, I went down to Jono, who had a absolutely huge 1594.
Top scoring out of the league.
Top scoring out of the league. Great week for Jono. So, unfortunately, I went down. shout out to his team. Shout out to kind of his uniques of Zanka and Lucy Wales, who went huge between 96 and 103 between them, is absolutely amazing. And I had a 26. So yeah,
exactly. No, the Eden Zanker, I do wish I did end up going through with that pick, but unfortunately, sort of got chickened out of that late as well. But no, very good week from Jono there. So in terms of we've got, I think Jake is the only undefeated coach now. So Jake, shout out to you, mate. You're 2-0 in the league, and then there's JS and Jackson a 1 win and a draw. Surprise, surprise. And there's a lot of coaches on 1-1. So there's only a couple of coaches with 0-2 there. So I'm sure that'll be rectified very, very soon. But let's get stuck into the games, boys. So DC will be taking all the studs from the weekend's games, and me and Tom will take it in turns and go through the duds, and Tom will be the person on duty for the first game. And keep sending through your suggestions as well if you'd like studs and duds. If you like a different now, we've got a couple of suggestions. I'll give it another week to see if we've got some new other suggestions, because there's a few good ones there that we'll go over, and we'll see if there's any better. And if not, we'll go with a new name probably moving from next week forward. So we'll start off with Collingwood and GWS, with Collingwood getting the job done by 8 points. And who gets your stud from this game, DC?
Yeah, well, a little bit slim pickings, really, because no one turned up in this game. Britt Benicia was pretty good with 98, but going to give it to Tani Evans with a 79, kicked 3 goals, all in the first quarter, I think. And a couple of them were absolutely excellent. So very good game from her. Obviously not got that friendly defender role we've seen her have in the past, but showed that she can still score with the best forwards.
Yep, exactly. Tom, your dud from this game?
I find this one quite difficult because a lot of the popular fantasy players did okay. Not great, just kind of okay. I could give it to Zali. You know, I'm going to give it to Zali's first kind of quarter and a half, because it was a super poor start. Only scoring 3 points in the first quarter. It's going to be a lot to bounce on that when you're paying over 80 for a player. So we just want a bit more for 4 quarters, but the role was there, so I'm not too worried going forward.
Yeah, I'm surprised you didn't give it to Eleanor Brown or Lauren Butler, because Eleanor Brown only scored 19, Butler scored 29, so that's some low scores from. But
I gave it to Ellie Brown last week because I felt I don't want to get done for bullying. Yeah, I think if you own Butler or Brown, there's better options now. You've just got to get off. You've lost the cash. You've just got to get off.
Yeah, agreed. Moving over to the next game, which was Melbourne and St Kilda. So we've got the double header here, and Melbourne a big win here by 74 points. DC, who gets your stud?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's got to go to a Melbourne player. As happy as I was with Patricos from the Saints, Melbourne obviously big winners in this, and a few big scores again. And we're going to throw it to Tyler Hanks, who has gone back-to-back monster hundreds and is right up there in the top 5 mids now. So 126 from her, 28 touches, 12 tackles, 4 marks, hit all the stat lines. That Melbourne midfield looks really, really good. They've got some good depth there. Even with the injury to Purcell at about half-time, she was flying too. We saw Kate Hall play a bit more time through the middle this week, to my eye at least. 93 from her. And we know with their run coming up, there's a lot of options that we should be looking at from Melbourne. But Hanks I thought was outstanding.
Yeah, she was very, very good. Hopefully that injury for Purcell isn't too bad. She was flying, as you said, as well, 75 at the half.
Absolutely.
So hopefully
first
she's
quarter,
okay.
50 plus, I think.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And Taylor Harris was massive with the 114, 4 goals, 4. Good starting pick if you went there, along with Eden Zanker. My dud from this game, obviously there's a couple of low scores just from probably players that aren't hugely owned there. I'll probably give it to Shelley Heath, 50, probably slightly unders after getting a ton last week. Probably slightly unders, but if Purcell's going to be out for a little bit, does that mean Shelley Heath gets more of that midfield role? Obviously, she played little bit all over the place in this game, so hopefully we can see her back in the mids because she looked good in round 1. But yeah, 50, I think just slightly under.
I think the watch there is Kate Hall, because I think Kate Hall, from what I saw, took a bit of Heath's role in the midfield. So be interested to see the CBA numbers. Haven't had a look at them yet, but I think that might be the risk there. So yeah, I'd wait and see what happens with Purcell. But I actually had Heath coming in for a bit of last week, and then pivoted to Zali. So kind of glad I didn't go there. But if she gets that midfield role, I still think she's going to be a really good scorer.
Yeah, exactly. Moving over to the next game, which is Gold Coast and Sydney, with a very big win by 82 points here. DC, geez, you could give this stud, honestly, to probably 4 players here, I reckon. 4 Sydney players could all get it. Who are you going to give it to?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, obviously Gardner's the obvious one. We already spoke about Ham. Zippy Fish is the other one, backed up a round 1 score with another 96. But I might give it to Chloe Malloy, 7 goals, 3, 118 as a forward. A lot of people had her in the team during preseason. That preseason game score turned a lot off, but just showed that we should have stuck with her because, outstanding game from her. 7 goals, 3 in obviously shorter than game time compared to the men's game is ridiculous.
Exactly. 11 goals in 2 weeks. So shout out to Chloe Malloy for a very good return from the ACL injury she suffered early last season. Tom, who gets your dud from this game?
I think I've got to give it to Gold Coast player and the whole team for losing by 82 points. But Claudia Whitford, kind of a renowned, decent scorer in the mids.
Rough.
I think it was priced at over $1 million to start the year. To go 37 is just pretty not great. I'm not gonna lie. So got to go there. Shout out to Charlie Rowbottom when other top mids are going 120, 150, 160 to put back-to-back 80s. Not great.
Yeah, I think it was Whitford's return from injury, and 65% game time might have had a bit to do with it. But yeah, you're right. 37 is still well short of what she's capable of.
37 and standard areas.
God, it wasn't that
bad. But yeah, no, and it's funny that Charlie Rodbon was the Gold Coast top scoring player as well for this game. So that's concerning for our Gold Coast assets.
I mean,
maybe besides Neve McLaughlin.
Just on that, Neve McLaughlin, should we be worried because of what you've just said there, Bales? The fact that Gold Coast have been soundly beaten round 1 by the Eagles and then been belted by the Swans. Should we be worried that no one from Gold Coast is going to score that well and maybe just abort all Gold Coast players?
It's a good point because I just think the ball's going to be back there so much that I think Neve's just going to sort of get a lot of the ball. She took a couple of kick-ins as well. I still don't know why she doesn't take a lot more of the kick-ins. I messaged, there's a group chat that I'm in, that when someone else, I can't remember who it was, took the kick in, but they missed Neve McLaughlin for a +6, and then Sydney intercept mark, then kick the goal. And I was like, and that's why Neve McLaughlin should be on kick-ins. So, but no, 72 is, probably with the fact they've got, I think they've got Port Adelaide next week, and then they go into, I think they've got another decent matchup. Then they've got, GWS. So I think next 2 weeks is probably good, and then they've got Carlton. But it's a good flag to raise that maybe they're
just
not.
Just as a team points, it's just going to make it tough.
Yeah, exactly.
McLaughlin did have 97% time on ground.
Yeah.
Which
is great.
It does help, but it might cap that ceiling of the team score might cap that ceiling. Are we going to get a pop score, or is the 60s, 70s kind of what we're going to expect as a maximum? It's definitely something to think about.
Yeah, exactly. Moving over to Freo and Brisbane. It's another big win here by Brisbane by 70 points. DC, who gets your stud from this game?
Yeah, I mean, funnily enough, the 2 top scorers are Freo players. Just having a look. I might throw it to a player I've got, and a lot of people have got Bree Conan. 78 was on over 50 at halftime, bit of a quieter second half, but to get that out of a defender who was well underpriced, you're pretty happy with that score. Played a bit more midfield from what I saw this week. So again, would like to see the CBAs there. And then probably a shout out to Tali Hickey as well. Beat Mim Strom in the ruck, which is no mean feat.
Yeah, exactly. My dud from this game, I think Tom will attest to this one, but Ange Stannett, unfortunately, with the 26 points. If you do have her, which a few coaches had a few issues to fix up post round one, I think she's definitely got to go. That's back-to-back poor scores. So, yep, she's got to go. 26 points is not acceptable. Moving over to the final game on the Saturday, which was Hawthorn and Carlton, which was a very close game, very inaccurate game there, but close with Hawthorn getting the job done by 8 points. And who gets your stud from this game, DC?
I think it's got to go to Lucy Wales. Semi-popular starting ruck option. Wasn't great round one. I think spent a bit of time off the ground there, but came back with a vengeance this round. I think possibly top scoring ruck of the week. Don't quote me on that. But only the 11 hit outs, but the 19 touches and 8 tackles, along with 5 marks as well. Hit every stat line pretty well. And she's proven across the first couple of weeks to be a decent option at R1.
Yep, she's going along very, very nicely. And in terms of the last round's ruck, she was a top scorer. Talia Hickey was next. They were the 2-ton rucks there. And then Matilda Dyke was in third with 91. So a couple of rucks there going pretty solid this week. Tom, who gets your dud from this game?
I find this very, very, very difficult because I feel like wasn't a very... I probably got to give it to Greta Birdie. I think I gave it to her last week as well. Just as kind of someone who came to the season as that kind of premium-ish top 10 forward to throw up a 27. It's just very poor, really. Kind of that small forward role. I feel like some of the new younger players are taking kind of that high half forward role off Greta, and as a result, a 33 and a 27 in round 1 and round 2 means that she might be a target soon, priced at only 588k and down 267 from the start of the year.
Yep, getting very, very cheap. Something to definitely keep an eye on. Moving to the Sunday games, and the first one was Richmond and the Dogs, with the Dogs winning by 21 points. Who gets your stud from this game, DC?
Yeah, again, another game with no tons. Conti, good, as she often is, with a 98. Georgia Stathis, 79. That's a couple of good scores to start with from her. Although 10 tackles from her seems unusual to me for her kind of role, but a good score nonetheless. But I'm actually going to go and give it to a rookie. Maybe a little bit of bias here because she's sitting on my bench, but I'm going to give it to Sarah Pousty for the 64. That's back-to-back 50-plus scores from her and has really got her cash gen going. Not overly highly owned, but yeah, has made about 200k over 2 weeks. So pretty happy with that one sitting on the bench.
Yep, no, she has started very, very well. That is for sure. My dud from this game, I'm going to give it to, I think I'll go Katie Brennan for a 35. I believe she didn't have a great score last week either. I'm just having a quick look at what her round 1 score was, but I don't believe it was very good as well. So Katie Brennan, only scored the 37 last week, so 35 again. So not a great start for Katie there, and I thought the Dogs might have been a matchup where she could have really got going, but unfortunately that was not to be the case, so she'll have to get that for this game here. Moving over to the next game, which was North Melbourne continuing on their merry way with a big win over Port Adelaide, 72-point winners. And normally we say pick one, DC, but I feel like this one you've probably got to give it to 2 players.
Yeah, I think we've got to split this between Ash Riddell and Jazz Gardner. So, yeah, 165 and 158. Got there in different ways, though. Jazz Gardner, 6 goals, 31 touches is Lee Matthews' kind of ridiculous sort of areas from 40 years ago. Outstanding game. And then Ash Riddell, 43 touches, 7 marks and 5 tackles, plus a goal as well. So ridiculous from those two. I think we're going to want to get them both in our teams fairly quickly. The question is going to be, can you chase them now, I think, if you don't have them? And that's probably what I'm contemplating because my midfield's kind of going all right. It's making money, and I've got sort of 3 bigger mids there, but am I going to keep getting hurt if they keep dropping 130s, 140 pluses every week? That's, I guess, the question.
Yeah, no, geez, what gains by the pair of them? And Tom, I don't know if you noticed this, but it always seems like Jazz Garner is the one that gets like +10 post game. Like she got another +7 after the game finished, and I'm like, why can't my players get +10 points after the game? It's always Jazz Garner when I don't have her. So, but no, incredible from those two. But who gets your dud of the from this game?
For a team that kicked 13 goals and had 22 scoring shots, you're probably expecting one of their marquee key forwards to do better than 39 in Kate Sheilo. As kind of, once again, that premium-ish forward to put up a 34 in a really nice matchup in a game where they absolutely battered Port Adelaide is very disappointing. And it wasn't a time on ground thing. I had 78% time on ground is plenty enough to do better than a 39 in a matchup like that for Kate.
Yeah, agreed. Moving over to the next game, which was Essendon and West Coast, and a Sophie Alexander goal right towards the end of the game got Essendon the win, which is good because I tipped Essendon, so I'm glad that I got the tip right there. Essendon by 5 points. Who gets your stud from this, DC?
Yeah, a few to choose from there. Shout out to Amy Gaylor, who I know the free kick guys were reasonably keen on quite a week one, but has bounced back with the top score in this game, 105. But we better give it to Bonnie Toogood, who probably had us a little bit concerned last week with her start, but came through here with an 80, very solid forward line score, particularly for her price. 2 goals, 3 to go with 7 marks, and has now gone up 109K this week. So that's what we wanted to see from her. At that sort of price, we knew that she was going to be good enough to go up, but you don't want to be sitting on her scoring 50s and 60s for too long and just sort of trickling up in price. So good to get a decent score there and get that moving quickly.
Yeah. You say you're concerned last week. I was concerned this week at halftime. She was on 17, and I was like, she's gone. I'm going to have to trade her.
There you go. I didn't see any of the games today.
Half. Yeah.
It's just what you can do, guys. Just don't watch the games and you won't be concerned.
Yeah, exactly. But no, second half was brilliant. That's the Bonnie Toogood we've been wanting to see. So I think she's a whole, particularly with that good score there. Tom, who gets your dud from this game?
Oh, I'm doing this one. I'm going to give it.
Was this game?
It's okay. Me? I can do it. I want to give it to a collection of rookies who all scored really well last week, who all didn't score great this week. So we're talking Courtney Murphy with 26, Grace Baloney with 35, Jess Wrench with 42, and Lucia Paynes with 45. We kind of wanted a little bit more from all of them. Even 10, 15 more points just keeps that cash rolling over and stops that break even getting big quickly. So yeah, I find it harsh giving it to a rookie, so I'm going to give it to 4 of them a quarter. Little play.
As you said, if it was 10, 15 points more, a few of them wouldn't have been too bad. But yeah, unfortunately, just slightly unders from a few of the rookies this week. And the final game of the round, and safe to I was concerned at 3/4 time, but the Crows getting the job done there by 38 points with 7 goals straight in the last quarter, if you don't mind. DC, who gets your stud from this game?
I'm going to throw it to Georgie Prasparkas. I think at her starting price, you can kind of sometimes get caught a little bit in no man's land with that sort of price if they don't get off to a flyer. But she started really well, 2 tons to start the season, 39 points in the last quarter to go with Noffy's 50 points in the last quarter. But 109 from her with 7 tackles and 30 touches. Very good game, and she's proven to be an excellent pick.
Well, you must not have read the terms and conditions, DC, jumping on the pod. Noffy top scored, which means you have to give the stud to her when I'm on the pod. So
she dropped another 100K or something, didn't she?
Yeah. No, that is true.
Shout out to Danielle Ponter, who I gave the -3 to last week for at 15. To go,
I actually put her on my watch list after last week.
It went on my watch. Went on my watch list.
Cheap, and I don't think it's going to happen.
Which has gone up. Which has gone back up.
Exactly. Well, obviously, just also because Jono wanted me to mention this as well. He said, whenever you next streams, like, please apologise to that person on Saturday morning that wanted to trade in Daniel Ponta. My advice was clearly garbage. Huge score from it.
We said no.
because there was someone on Saturday morning. I can't remember exactly who it was, but they were saying, "Can I trade in Daniel Ponta?" And John was like, "No, don't do that. She just scored 14." Well, I hope you did, because she scored 101, so she was brilliant in this game.
Yeah.
In terms of the dud from the game, who would I give it to here? I'm not going to give it directly to Brooke Tonnen, but I'm going to give it to Brooke Tonnen in the case of if anyone looked at her last quarter. So she had 0 points. She played 9% time on ground in the last quarter. She started the quarter on the bench for about probably 7-8 minutes. No joke, came on for about a minute or two, if that, and went back off again. Everyone was thinking that the AFL app had screwed up, and they said that Randall was off when she was on. They said Rashid was off when, and it was all stuff. And thought, oh, okay, Tonnen, they've just stuffed up. Nope, they didn't stuff up Brooke Tonnen. She just had a 9% time on ground in the last quarter. So, yes, not very good there, because that 40 certainly could have been maybe a mid-50 score, and that would have been pretty nice for some cash gen, but unfortunately not to be. So I'll give it to her, but more so Adelaide coaching stuff. What are you doing? Playing 9% time ground for a player. Unbelievable. But that is the games, and we've recapped that. So I guess we'll go into our trade targets and trade out. So we'll start off with the trade out targets there. So DC, it's I think a lot of the players that had good weeks, had poor weeks in week one, had a good week in week two. And there's probably not any real obvious ones in terms of, like, if you look at defensive midfield and even in the ruck, I guess the forwards, you probably got Stanett. But is there anyone that sort of you look at, even from your own team or from maybe that might be a bit popular, that you're like, they might have to go because of the poor score they've just dropped?
Yeah, I'm really struggling to work out who to trade out. We obviously haven't had a lot of time since lockout has lifted. But as I said, I only have the 2 players that scored under 70. So I feel as though my team's going pretty well. As I said, I just missed those ceiling scores. I mean, I'm looking at someone like a Serene Watson. Do I get off her? And is there a better option I can jump to that might be a bit cheaper? But that seems pretty harsh because she's been solid. I mean, speaking to Jake before coming on here, he's saying that he's probably going to trade out Jess Wrench this week, which is an interesting call because she's still gone up 91K, but with that 42. So again, I'd like to see the CBA stats for her to see how much time she did actually spend in the midfield and whether that diminished a bit this week. Maybe that's a play to get off her early, but I don't think it's necessarily high priority. Maybe if you can move it to the bench.
Wrench on the bench.
Wrench on the bench. Particularly because I've got Rebecca Ott sitting there on the bench who outscored her this week, and they actually play each other this week. So I wonder whether her up against the Eagles ruck might go all right on field. So they're kind of what I'm looking at for my team. As I mentioned, McLaughlin maybe one you could look at, but the rest of the team's going pretty well. I don't feel as though I've got too many other pressing options. Maybe Caitlin Gould, but again, coming off a 71 and then has GWS this week who just lost to Collingwood. So, yeah, it's slim pickings. In terms of other players I'd be getting off, as I said earlier, I got off Rowbottom this week. I'd be getting off her pretty quick by the looks of it. I just, for whatever reason, feel as though we're not going to see that sort of bounce back that we've seen from, say, Riddell and Gardner this week. She just looks as though these rule changes are not helping her at all, and Gold Coast are going to struggle. So she'd be a high priority to get off as one of those more expensive players, I think.
Yeah, I think I agree with that. She's dropping a heap in cash, and okay, if she turns it around, we can pick her up in a few weeks' time. But because she's dropping so much cash, I think it could be a move to jump off, particularly if you got 5 big mids and you got Zippy Fish, who just, again, looked incredible on the weekend. She's on your bench. You can put her onto your field and have her at M5. Tom, I know you've got, obviously, Ange Stannett. Firstly, I think that you'd agree. She's obviously got a good matchup coming. Oh, sorry, the bad matchup coming up against North Melbourne. She's got to go.
Just got to. He's like, it's not like the scores aren't fieldable. Like you've just got to get off. North Melbourne, it could be anything. It could be a 20. It was a 26. It could be even less. Like 6 touches, It's a trade. End.
Is there? I totally agree with you. Is there any chance that she actually gets moved into the midfield because they've just been absolutely belted by Brisbane? Do they look at that midfield mix?
I thought she was really poor. I thought her contested work was really poor. She was actually around the ball a fair amount. I thought her skills was poor. I thought her contested work was poor. I just thought
just rust after the injury, maybe.
I think, yeah, and she should come back from an ACL. Like, it's not. I know she's an absolute gun at her flying best, but I don't think this. I think you just got to get off this week before she loses too much cash. I mean, she's already lost too much cash, but even more.
Yeah, I think that the other issue with Stannett is that when she had the year a couple of years ago, averaging in the 70s, there was no Ash McCarthy there. Kiara Bowers was in and out dealing with a couple of injuries. Gabby Newton wasn't there, and Mim Strom wasn't as good as what she is now. Obviously, she just keeps getting better every single year. So it's like all those points are being taken up by Bowers and McCarthy and Newton, and it's just like there's just not enough to go around, and it's just not enough midfield time. So
Megan Kaufman is playing that highest of the half forwards for Freo, getting up in and around the stoppage, whereas Stannett's playing that little bit deeper as a pure forward pocket almost. It's just the interesting one that I want to chat to you two boys about, or 1/2, is the Jess Wrench, Lucia Painter, Courtney Murphy, Baloney. It's the rookies that went really well round one who have stalled now. What's your thoughts on moving them on this week?
Well, DC, you can go first, you want? Oh, DC, we can't hear you at the moment.
Sorry, I had my mic muted.
It's funny.
It was a really good point. I was making a really good point.
Anytime anyone's on mute, because I felt we've all got the same microphone, the Blue Yeti, whatever. It's anytime you hear like you can't even like you're on mute, and then you hear like the and then
it comes with the podcaster's starter kit. Yeah. No, I mean, I just question, have they actually stalled? Because, I mean, Wrench still went up 91K. That's still substantial. I haven't, full disclosure, I haven't checked the price moves for everyone because it's only been open for
it's only
an hour or so.
Break-evens in W is a way higher than the men's equivalent. Even someone like Lucia Painter this week, her break even was like 15 or 17, even after a 95. You go up more for beating it, obviously down more for not getting there. But if that break even's up around 40, 45, the role in the first 3 quarters of Painter was pretty horrible. It was forward. Last quarter, she came up on the ball and looked very good by all accounts. I thought she was great when she moved up into the midfield. But I just worry if we knew the forward role was there from the week before. In tougher games, if she's playing forward, is the scoring going to be there consistently enough? And I probably should have thought this last week before bringing her in. But is it time? Okay, she's 650K. I can get 200K from that trade, which allows me to fix up a Grace Koch, who did okay for a 40, but I don't see as someone with a great ceiling.
Yeah, I'm much more comfortable moving on someone like Painter. As you mentioned, the role there is the reason why I didn't bring her in this week, or didn't feel as though she was necessarily must-have, because there's so many other players that are going up in cash as well. Similar with Harris as well, with that big score after round one, but playing primarily forward in a struggling team. Wrench, as I said, I'd really like to see the CBA stats. I just had a quick check, and they're not out yet on DFS. But yeah, I think if she's still got the role, I'd probably back her in for one more week. But more okay with moving on someone like Painter because the role's not as good, and she's worth more already as well.
Yeah,
She gave away
from
the
what
4 free kicks for Jess Wrench.
from watching the game, Wrench seemed to go a bit more defensive in the second half.
Yeah, which was
she
the
did
concern.
have a couple of CBAs. It wasn't like pure defensive, but it was kind of a defense mid split role. From what that was with my eyes, that might have been wrong. The camera angles aren't always the best to see at some of these outgrounds, but yeah, so that was just kind of the eye test. But I also have Beckott, and someone we might talk about in a second is a great defensive option to bring in.
Yeah, I guess the one I'm probably looking at is Havana Harris in terms of I'm not sure if I want to trade out because she seemed to be a lot like Luke Jackson for those that watch the men's, where she was playing forward in the first half, but a couple of CBAs as a midfielder in the third quarter, then played full-time midfield in the last quarter. So I feel like if they're going to lose by a lot, they're just going to try and get her around the ball and move around the ground. So I'm like, she scored 48 in a really bad loss. She's got Port and then GWS next 2, which seem like pretty good matchups for Havana Harris. So I partly don't know if I want to jump off just yet. I don't know if you boys have any differing opinions, because I think 48, even in a tough loss like that, still not too bad.
I think you can get off because I think we have an option at a very similar price.
Yeah,
in McGrath from West Coast. If Lakai's not named, McGrath, especially coming against Beckott this week, could be and someone I'm very much looking at bringing in this week as an option, as a cheaper solo ruck. If the rucks aren't going to score well, as a general, spending down as much as possible in that position until it's time to go and get Mims from.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Final 2 players we'll touch on as well before we get into the ins was DC. You mentioned Serene Watson there as a player that you're like, she's done nothing wrong, but could you move if you need cat? Because like I'm struggling to find where I'd get the cash to maybe make these upgrades to get these rookies in. Is there any world where we can trade out a defensive premium that started off not too bad, and I think West Coast are actually quite tough for defenders, which is who Watson's got this week. Could you move her down for a couple of weeks? Maybe it's to someone we'll talk about in Boyd from North Melbourne as a potential downgrade if you've got like an Ott on the bench and filled Ott and Wrench at D4, D5 moving forward?
Probably with that sort of scenario, I'd feel slightly uncomfortable, I reckon, having 2 rookies on field in that line. I've only got 2 rookies on field total, and one of them is Zippy Fish, who isn't really scoring like a rookie. So Wrench is the only other rookie I've got. So I'm not really sure I want to be bringing another one on field in that scenario. But if you're concerned about your cash in, maybe you haven't picked the right rookies on your bench and you're feeling as though you might be getting behind, maybe that is an option. But I mean, Serene Watson's averaging 68 after her first 2 games, which is pretty solid. Like in seasons gone past, that's close to top 5 defender mark. And West Coast this week, you would hope that she still scores pretty well there. So yeah, I'm more throwing her up as an option just because my team is otherwise going pretty well, other than those ceiling scores.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's something I've considered, right, is that I can go like a Serene down and that cash can go on top of a couple of players to get in these money makers for a couple of weeks. But yeah, part of me, I didn't want to trade at a pre-mid last week because I didn't love trading at either, Schultz either. I just don't like trading primos, but sometimes, particularly in AFL, you might have to. So it's certainly something to consider. And then Tom, final player was Ash Centra. Popular starting option. A few people did jump off last week. We were chatting about it in the pre-lockout chat that she was warming up with the mids, and we were going, okay, here we go. And she played midfield, played a little bit forward as well, but a fair bit more midfield. Her time on ground also increased by 11% up to 72%, scored a 51. Do you think she's a hold for now?
I think you can definitely, I would say you can trade her. You got nothing better to do, you can trade her. However, I actually think she might be would be one of the better downgrade options. Like, the role is now there much more than what it was last week. She's getting fitter all the time, having that interrupted preseason. She is a gun. You can just see by watching it, she's a gun. I honestly think there's a 70+ score in the near future, which is going to kickstart that cash gen, and I'm happy holding on for now.
Yep, I agree. DC?
Yeah, I agree that she looked a lot better this week. Definitely a bit of midfield time. It still looked as though she was ahead of the ball a fair bit too as well, but time on ground went up too. My concern with her is that she rolls into Melbourne this week, who are coming off 2 pretty big wins to start the season. Their midfield is humming. And then she rolls into the Roos after that. And then Sydney, who are also going well. So she's got 3 pretty tough matchups in a row. So that 70 score, I absolutely agree. I think she's well within her capabilities, but is she going to do it in the next 3 weeks? Because if she's going to keep putting up 40s and 50s, maybe you can get on a player who might be moving up quicker. But yeah, it's a tough one because she did look good, and we know that she's a gun.
Yeah. Yeah, agreed. And then probably just finally, as we'll move into the trade-ins now, as if you've got like an Ali Anderson, Anne Hatchard, Ellie Blackburn, you can probably jump off of those. And I'm just looking more at like the more popular players that people have got, is that they're all dropping in cash. And if you've got one of those girls, maybe you've got Fish on the bench and player on field. If not, maybe you can go to a mid-price that's making a bit of cash there as well. Besides that, I think most other players are doing what we want them to at the moment. So we'll move over to the trade-ins, and I think we'll go line by line here because we got some good options here. We'll start off in defence, DC, because we've got Tessa Boyd, who was a late in for Nicole Bresnahan and came in and scored well with a 72 and went up a bit in value this week for North Melbourne. And then we've also got, for those that don't have Beck Ott, she's just over 500k, and she's an option as well. So Tessa Boyd is 428k, and Beck Ott is 500 and was it 27k. Are these probably the 2 best options in terms of downgrades in the defense at the moment?
Yeah, from what I can see, I've got Ott, and we'll certainly be considering Boyd as an option. Do we think she keeps that role? I didn't see much of that game.
Tom, what do you think?
I think she keeps it. I didn't see that much of it. I think she did well. From what I've heard, I think I think she at least scored well. I know she. So I watched probably quarter and a half of the game, and the comms were saying it was a bit of a 0-0 draw in the ruck, which I think for the St Kilda ruck stocks is.
Oh, sorry, I was talking about Boyd, not Ott.
Oh, Boyd. Sorry, I didn't see any of the game. Sorry.
Yeah,
sorry.
I did see Ott. I thought Ott was pretty solid. Certainly got a bit of the ball around the ground. Hit outs probably not that strong, but she gets the ball around the ground for sure.
Yeah. From what I saw here as well, and the good thing with the men to finish out this year, so I don't have to worry about looking at 2 different screens. I can just look at the one games. But today was a bit tricky with those big games going on. But from what I saw, Tessa Boyd had a bit of a quieter first half, but it was really a second half where she got going. So she had a 20-point third quarter and then a 33-point last quarter. So 53 in the last half. So only 19 at halftime.
Yeah.
Isla Sheeran went off injured as well. So we'll have to see if that what that's looking like there. But Emma Carney is also due back shortly. So there's a few moving bits there. I think Tessa Boyd will be one to look at in terms of how long Sheeran out for, how long. I think Bresnahan's meant to miss a few weeks. But if Carney's back, does that change things there? So I think it's probably one to keep an eye on.
Saw O'Shea score well too.
Yeah, exactly. So it's something to keep an eye on with that North back line. But I think that, probably want to see the injury list before saying if bringing Boyd in or not. But I do agree that Beck Ott is a very, very good option. Is there anyone that we're paying up for in defence or looking to maybe upgrade to? So like to Lucas Rod, they've started very, very well, and they're looking like the clear D1 at this stage with 84 and 97 to start the year. Georgia Stathers made a bit of money, but she's now near 900k as well. Corden has put up a couple of good scores. Shelley Heath, obviously had a lower score this week, but could easily go back into that midfield role. Is there anyone, Tom, that you're looking at in defence that may be an option?
I kind of see them as a bit more much for muchness. These kind of premium defenders. I'm just having a look down the list of the top averages. I think if you can get Tilly Lucas Rod, I don't mind. I think they've started brilliantly, like taking over from last year. Everybody else, I'm kind of a little bit unknown, I suppose. No one's really grabbing me, going, pick me, I suppose.
Yeah, DC.
I still think Shelley Heath is the one to really keep an eye on, because if we look at players that are, we look at the top scorers in those defensive positions, the vast majority of them are still defenders. And we know that the high scorers in fantasy are typically the midfielders, particularly in the women's game. And we just look at that Melbourne run. They've obviously got Collingwood this week coming, which should be a pretty soft matchup. Then into the Tigers, who have just lost to last year's strugglers, the Bulldogs. They're barely going. Then they roll into Port, which is not a tough matchup. Then they've got the Eagles, then the Suns. So they basically got all the easier teams in the AFLW over the next 5 or 6 weeks. So if Shelley Heath even has like a 30-40% midfield role, I think she's going to keep pace with those top defenders. It's just whether she's going to get moved around as they're trying to fit Kate Hoare in. So I'll be watching very closely on the injury reports this week. And if Purcell is out, I might almost go with a leap of faith with her, because she's still only 845k. That's the upside of her only scoring 50 this week, because her price doesn't move much. But we saw week 1, heavy midfield role tonned up. If she gets that role back, I think she could be close to D1. So she's the one I'll be keeping an eye on, particularly with their fixtures.
Yeah. No, very, very good shout. Moving to the midfield, I think the question I just want to ask before we get to anything else, DC, Jazz Garner looks unstoppable at the moment. Like, she goes forward, she marks the ball, kicks goals. She's in the mids, she racks up the tackles. It doesn't matter where Jazz Garner goes. She just dominates games, just game in, game out. She's now $1.606 million. So she's very, very expensive. But she's one of those players that I just can't see coming down in price much at all. It's a really difficult time of the year to be looking at an upgrade like this, but is she someone that could take the season away from you? Because she's not too highly owned, only 26% when you compare it to like Noff and those highly owned players. Is there a world where you can pay that, or is it just not in the scope at the moment? We just got to continue getting this cash gen, and we just have to, unfortunately, keep watching with sad faces when you're watching North Melbourne, unless you've maybe got Riddell where it might be okay.
I mean, the question is, who are you actually trading to get to her? Because even if we're talking about, say, Charlie Rowbottom, who we touched on, that it's probably a trade out option, she's now 500k cheaper than her. Yeah. So, like, you're having to almost do a bit of a restructure to actually get up to her. I don't think there's any point now in trading Noffy to her, because you only make 40k. So if you're going to do that, last week was probably the week to do it, and you would have made 200k.
Free kicked in that.
So yeah, I mean, good move that week. She's obviously not going to kick 6 goals every week. Is like the only solace I'm kind of taking at the moment, but we know that she can still score in so many other ways anyway. But I'd probably be, if you're looking at trading in a premium mid, I'd probably looking a little bit further down, looking at a Laura Gardner, saving that 200 odd K, or maybe with that run we were just talking about, maybe you go down to a Tyler Hanks, who's at 262, and they've got the softest run in fantasy coming up. So yeah, they'd be kind of the names I'd be looking at and saving a bit of cash.
Yeah, exactly. I think the thing that's scary with Garner as well, I'm looking at like this week. So she had 6 goals, which obviously helps. Then she had 8 marks, 3 tackles, but she's got a 1-3 week before with only 1 goal, but had 12 tackles. So it's like, it's crazy that there could be a game where she has 4 or 5 goals and has like 10 tackles and just goes like 180, 190. So that's, I guess, the sort of the scary thing. I half looked at could I do like a Watson down a rookie and go like a Georgie Prasparkas, which is a silly move because she's also scoring really well, and just getting Garner in to lock her in. But I think that's probably not quite the time of the year to be doing that. But no, it is an interesting dilemma for coaches, a lot of us that don't have her. In terms of other options, Tom, is there anyone in that midfield besides, obviously DC mentioned a couple, but like, is there anyone even that's a bit more expensive you're looking at? Is it like last week we were talking about potentially a restructure and getting Fish on field? If Fish is still on your bench, can you still make that move? Or if you've got those players like Gardner, Riddell, which is not an option now because of what they've just gone and done?
I kind of think you can. You can, and if you want to, especially if you need cash from somewhere, I don't know which one I would trade out. If row bottom, yeah. Trade in targets, I don't really have anyone new really. I don't have anyone new to really talk about because I think we've kind of covered.
Well, Sarah Powsey is probably the one, if you're looking for a cheaper player, is probably the one that you're going to.
Yeah, 518 is okay. Yeah. Hawthorn are tough this week, but probably Sarah Powsey is the rookie option.
Or Accenture is the other option there as well, potentially. Yeah. DC?
Yeah, you need to say
I just sort of throw up Georgia Patrikios again as well. So I think you can still go there if you want to. 905K, back-to-back 89s, look really good. West Coast this week. I think if you haven't got that Charlie Rowbottom, you can still make that trade this week. Back a couple of 100K. And I still think she's probably got a couple of 100K to make. So she'd be the other one if you want to find a bit more of a mid-price sort of midfielder.
Yeah, exactly. I feel like this is probably the last week for Patrikios if you grab her, just because she'll be probably over $1 million, you'd think, this upcoming week. But she's been a pretty good starting pick as well if you did go there. And I think if you're restructuring the mids, I think that there's probably the 3 or 4 non-negotiables that you're not trading. I think that's Marinoff, Garner, Riddell, Gardner.
I wouldn't say Marinoff's a non-negotiable.
I wouldn't now. She's dropped too much. Who are you trading into? She's dropped too much cash already. I think you had to do it after the first week or not start her. Like, you're then going to be looking to trade it back in 3 or 4 weeks anyway. So
but you're going to a rookie, aren't you? Like if you're trading Marinoff out, you're going all the way down, bringing Fish on field, and then using that $1 million. So if you have a Grace Kosh at F5 and a Stannard still to deal with, and you need $1 million to deal with those players, that would be the way. That would be because Noffy's still coming down, so you might get a 200K cheaper than what she is now in 2 to 3 weeks. Maybe
she got GWS this week. But
she got 190 or what was it, 180, 190 last year? She got against GWS.
So she does that this week. All of a sudden, she ain't moving much in price. So.
Yeah, I'm not advocating it. I'm just saying if you are absolutely stuck in your team and you need serious major surgery, there's a big pool of cash there which you might be able to repurpose.
Yeah, and the one thing I would say about Marinoff as well is that her scoring was going okay up until 3/4 time, but then the last quarter when the Crows really got into gear is when she went big. And if the Crows if that's them clicking into gear for the year, or they had a few outs last week, this week they were slow to start. But if that's a sign of things to come in terms of they'll perform better, I think that's only going to be good things for Marinoff. So that would only be my only concern trading out. But they're probably the ones that you're probably not restructuring with. We'll move to the rucks, and DC, we did have a ruck that really put their hand up as an option, and that's Liz McGrath. Moved up 128K this week, 633, but scored 86. Tom on ground was up. Obviously, Lakai wasn't there, so she was the number one ruck, and she's obviously got the Saints this week, so it's a good matchup. If you've still got, I know Matilda Shots put up an 80, but if you've got someone above 800K, or even if you've got someone like Havana Harris, or can you make that move from like Havana Harris to Liz McGrath? Because I think we agree Liz McGrath is a great option to bring in if you're looking at the rucks, but where would be the better options you're looking at in terms of bringing her in?
Yeah, I think she's a good option for sure. Has gone up a bit in price already, 633K, but yeah, I mean, I think you could almost, if you wanted to find cash somewhere, I'd probably rather this sort of move than what we're just talking about with a Noffy sort of move. Mim Strom, who I have, obviously a lot of people started her. She'd probably be one of the few that I'd be happy to just hold on to her because I think she is still going to be the player that everyone is going to be trying to get at some point. So I'd rather stay ahead of the pack there and hold her. But almost any of the other rucks, I'd be considering, well, can I improve my team more elsewhere by going down?
Lucy Wales, you're probably holding on to.
Lucy Wales probably as well, but I mean,
one.
she did score a sub 70 round 1 too. So I just feel as though Strom's going to be pretty much a safe 80 plus almost every week the way she plays. So although this week will be a good test against North, but
well, Kim Rennie injured. Kim Rennie was injured today, so it might be a ruckless North.
Yeah,
that's what saved Matilda Schultz's score. Is she was rucking against nobody for the second half, so that is those with Schultz, myself, I'm very, very much looking at that as my cash grab this week.
Yeah, because I mean, you look at the rest of the other sort of premium top end rucks, and they're not like Mim Strom's gone down a bit, but there's still a fair gap between her and say an Alice Edmonds. I guess Brianne Harrington's gone pretty well, so there's a little bit of price movement there, but it's not as though anyone's absolutely shooting the lights out that you're probably not going to still want to trade out at some point to get to Mim Strom. So if your team's really going really well elsewhere and you think you can get a bit of a leg up by going down to McGrath, then maybe it is an option. I just think you'd probably want an exit idea there fairly quickly if it does go south in a couple of weeks' time.
Yeah. And I think that the one move, if you can make it work, if you've got cash from somewhere, I think if you could go like a Piper Dunlop or something like that to Liz McGrath on your bench, that could just if you've and I'm talking about if you've got Ivana Harris as R1, put Ivana Harris onto your bench, put a proper R1 on field, and then you've got Ivana Harris making money, and then in a week or two's time, you can downgrade Ivana Harris, get 300K. You've got a red dot there, and then you've got some cash to put on your field. That's the only way I'd consider doing Dunlop up in that scenario. But no, I wouldn't be looking at doing Dunlop in any other scenario. But no, Liz McGrath is probably the one ruck if you're making a move there this week. That's probably where you're going. But for time-wise, we'll go to the forwards as well. And Tom, as we wrap up, what are the forwards that you're looking at? Because Malloy had a great score, but it's now the most expensive forward. I feel like we've probably missed the boat for the time being. Goldsworthy obviously still there. Like Ash Woodland was good and had a good role. Barnett. Is there anyone in that forward range? Like Eden Zanker's been good to start the year along with Taylor Harris. They got a great run coming up. Could you consider anyone in this forward line that you're
What about if you don't have Montana Ham?
Oh, get it. Go get Montana Ham. Just
agreed.
I think the midfield role is real. It's there. She's playing full-time midfield. Time on ground also went up to 86% this week. That's the big
from 59. Big jump.
Yeah, big jump to
breakout game for Montana Ham, that one.
Well, I think the time on ground is the big kicker for me. Obviously, the score great against a very poor Gold Coast side, but I'm not expecting 133. But as you said with the defenders, this is full-time mid Montana Ham. Pick one, absolute jet. If you don't have a getter, other than Montana Ham in the premium area, I quite like a little bit cheaper. Someone like a Taylor Harris. I thought she was absolutely exceptional. Today, taking marks left, right, and centre, kicking goals, easing into it. She's an absolute superstar. And at 677 is a very attainable price for a lot of people.
Yeah, agreed. DC?
Yeah, I mean, probably two more. I mean, the first one I'd say is that it should be a target for a lot of people is Ash Woodland. So we've seen Gold Coast have gotten beaten up the first few weeks a bit and have given up some big scores. So she's got the Gold Coast this week, and then rolls into another soft matchup. The Eagles the week after. So I think she's a nice target, although it has gone up a bit in price. And then the other one is probably the question of whether, if you didn't trade in Zali this week, do you still look to get her in, considering she's going up against Adelaide?
That's a tricky one, because because me and Tom actually chatted about this on Saturday. After this matchup for Zali Goldsworthy against the Crows, her run for probably the rest of the year, she doesn't actually have a very difficult opponent at all. None of those top teams she plays. It's all these ones. I believe she's got Gold Coast in a few weeks' time as well. So that could be a big score. So I think you can definitely still do it. Maybe not this week, but I think the week after is probably a good time to be certainly looking at bringing Zali into your side. In terms of the cheaper forwards, I think the one that stands out is Laura Stone. She was really, really good for Hawthorn against Carlton, 491k. Tom Grant was up 69 points, gave away 4 free kicks, so a little bit similar to Jess Wrench, just a few free kicks away, probably hurt that score, but probably good for non-owners. I'm kicking myself I didn't make that call and save the money last week and go for her, because it would have been a trade save, but regardless, got to make that one this week. So I'm looking at that. I think we agree that she's probably the one if you're looking to downgrade or maybe make a rookie sideways shuffle in the forward line. Is there anyone else, DC, in the forward line that you're looking at that's, I guess, below that sort of 550, 500k range that's a bit of a cheaper rookie to maybe play F5 or maybe just do a bit of a shuffle on the bench?
Probably not a lot that I'm aware of off the top of my head, no. Yeah, I don't think there's any players that really put up ridiculous scores or have put up great scores over 2 weeks anyway. And if they have, they're probably up over that mark now, and you've maybe missed them. So no, I don't think there's any that are jumping out to me. I think Stone's probably the best option.
Yeah. Tom, for you, anyone you found? Or
I mean, Daniel Ponter, but she was still playing forward. She was excellent, and it is GWS this week, who have lost 2 games in a row. So that is definitely an option at 650k. But I don't know what the long-term scoring potential is. I think it's more, obviously it's going to be somewhere in the middle of 50 or 14 and 100. But I think it might be kind of a 50-55 rather than something truly great that we want to get in our sides.
You're probably looking at, in terms of that price, you're probably looking at Taylor Harris at a fairly similar price. Harris is 677. So what's that? Like 27k more. 20K. I think you're probably going there with the matchups.
That's where I'm looking.
Yeah, and there's obviously a few that we're looking at, like Greta Bodie dropping a bit in price as well. There's a few of those players that have dropped a little bit that we might be keeping an eye on that are dropping in price. But final question before we do wrap up was, can you go Dunlop down to a red dot DC? Because we've seen Noffy hasn't hit those 140s yet, 150s, which I'm sure will come. But I don't know if we've got as much confidence as the auto captain on Noffy, because we've got Riddell, we've got Gardner, we've got Garner, we've got some good options. Do you think it could be time to maybe go Dunlop to a red dot and use that as a way to be looping? Because Dunlop has made a little bit of cash, but I think she's going to be a bit of a slow burn. So she's up to 392. Could you just get that 92k and get a red dot and loop there?
You could. I'm still going to back in Noffy to bounce back. I think this week could be the week that she goes bang, personally. But you could, but only, I think, if your cash end's in a really good place across the rest of your team. If you've got bigger issues to sort, then I'd be quite happy having her sit there, because there's always the chance of late outs and stuff as well. So, yeah, probably not a high priority for me.
Yeah, it's something I've looked at. Because I feel like my third trade, I don't know exactly what I'm going to do. So it's something that I have considered if I'd like to loop between a couple of mids. But I agree, if you need that cash gen, you might as well keep that little bit of cash gen going, make that little bit of money. Because she pops a 60 or a 70 at some point, then all of a sudden she's making good cash again. So, it's an interesting one with that. I think, it's Tom.
Yeah, Dunlop does play a rookless Essendon in 2 weeks. So I kind of want to get her past there. So I think that could be a really decent score for Piper. And that might get her up to kind of that 550 range, of which is actually worth the cash going down to that 300k. I just don't think 92k is worth the cash grab to just basically chuck a donut and no cash gen position at this stage of the season. It's too early for me.
Yeah. Good points there. But, boys, that will wrap us up. So a bit of a longer pod, that one. But I hope you guys enjoyed the listen. But as we always do, we'll wrap up with our current trade thoughts. Obviously, we've only had a few hours to look at it, so we might not have trade set in stone. But, DC, what are your sort of early plans?
Honestly, I have very little idea. I've actually been kind of flicking through as we've been talking, trying to work out how I would answer this question. But, it's kind of those players I mentioned earlier. If I look at who's moving the wrong direction cash-wise, it's Serene Watson, it's Noffy, who I'm not going to trade, it's Strom, who I'm not going to trade. Caitlin Gould maybe is one I can consider, and then it's probably people like Centra maybe on the bench that I might be able to move on or wrench to a better option. But I don't think it'll be any wholesale moves this week. I think I'm just going to try and stay calm and hope that the big midfielders that I don't have don't keep dropping 150s on me.
Yeah, exactly. Tom?
So Anstein itself. Yeah. So yeah, Anstein at least for me. Thanks for not much. She goes to Taylor Harris. I also moving Grace Kosh up to Laura Stone on the bench. And to fund that, I'm going to do Matilda Schultz down to Liz McGrath to get the cash to do those trades.
Yeah, I like it, mate. And then the trades I put in before we started recording were very rough idea, but I did actually go Watson to Boyd, putting Ott on field, Kosh to Stone, putting McLaughlin on the bench, and then Dunlop to McGrath. So getting the money makers in to get some real big cash, but I'm probably unlikely to do that. It'll probably just be three sideways sort of moves and just trying to get a bit of cash because, as you said, DC, looking at the team here in terms of players that in the red, there's a lot of green. Like Watson dropped a bit. Obviously, Noffy dropped a fair bit. Goldsworthy barely dropped. But besides that, everyone's in the green. So that's obviously a good spot to be, but makes obviously trades a little bit tricky. So I'll have a bit of a play around. I'll listen to free kicks, always do, and see what the experts are saying there, and then I'll go from there in terms of my trade. So we'll see how that goes. But that does wrap us up for our round 2 reviews. But DC, mate, thank you very much for jumping on with us. Always a pleasure to chat AFL or AFLW Fantasy with you, or just chat in general. Where can the people find you across the socials? And obviously, you've got one more episode of HatChat for the season. But anything in terms of what are you going to be doing in the off season?
You never know. I might pop onto a podcast every now and then about AFLW, like we've just done tonight. So thanks for having me on. But no, probably not too much. Probably a little bit quieter on the socials front. But you can find us at HatChat AFL, and we'll be doing our season wrap-up tomorrow night, which looking forward to. It's always a fun episode.
Yeah, no, looking forward to it, mate. And you can find him at DC Caterpillars.
Yes.
Tom, where can the people find you?
Yeah, you can find me on X at Tom_Hales_. Probably to change that. It's a little bit of a mouthful every time. But yeah, look, exciting week. I think some trades will be a bit harder this week. So looking forward to answering some questions later in the week because I don't really know what the best way forward is this week. Lots of our players are going well. So that's great.
Yeah, beautiful, mate. And you can find me at BAILSDT across the socials and us at AFL Fantasy Fans on X. We'll be back later on in the week, Thursday or Friday night. Obviously, I'll navigate with Freaky and see what night they're doing their show, but it'll be one of the two for our pre-lockout chat, answering all your questions ahead of round 3. And our AFL Fantasy Men's recap as well. We'll be doing a show a bit earlier tomorrow and recapping everything. And at this stage, we'll have Holmesy jumping on for a tiny bit to chat about him. And obviously, he has won the the Content Creators Cup overranking version. So congrats to him on that as well. And also shout out to Nathan as well, who won the Content Creators Cup for the men's. He's enjoying his win very, very much. But thank you for tuning in. If you did tune in on YouTube, you can smash a like on the video and subscribe to our channel if you haven't already. That would be very much appreciated. If you are tuning in on the podcast, a 5-star rating and review would be absolutely fantastic. Have a good week, guys, and we'll catch you guys later in the week for our pre-lockout chat. So thanks for tuning in, everyone. Catch you then. See ya.
Bye.